I wanted to hop on here and just kind of go through a few messages I've been receiving here, mainly through Instagram. I'll be honest. Um, I I get a sense that a lot of people complicate things, and what by that I mean everyone wants to improve. People reach out to me. How do I do this? How do I increase pace? How can I improve my back foot contact position? And in fact, I've just been messaging with a player that I'm working with online who often gets distracted away from the one thing that he intended to work on for that week. Um, and the title of this is all about simplicity is genius. I think it's a skill of deciding what's the one thing that I need to improve on from now until the start of the season for those that are here in the UK. And you don't come away from it. I often use the analogy of I used to play the euphonium, believe it or not, when I was at secondary school, so a long time ago. I couldn't play the trumpet because I don't think my lungs generated enough air at the right pressure to to get any sort of decent tune out of a trumpet. So they gave me a euphonium, which is a bigger brass instrument, and I really enjoyed it. But going through learning how to play a musical instrument, um, piano, euphonium, anything, you go through a lesson and you work through the workbook if that's what you're doing, and you are not allowed to progress until you nail that first lesson, that first chapter, um, the first chapter of playing the euphonium. You don't move on. And I really like that analogy because if we don't spend enough time on, to give an example, improving our swinging stock ball, if we don't spend enough time every session that we can on looking at our getting feedback on our seam position, getting feedback from batters, um, do you think that I drew you forwards to play a forward defensive stock ball? Did I swing the ball? Um, did I hit the splice of the bat? Was I able to bowl a length where the batter didn't really know whether to go forwards or back? If we don't spend enough time on on that one thing, improving the consistency of your stock ball, will never become good at it. Another example: if a Yorker, if somebody decides, right, I want to win games for my team, and the one delivery that I think that I need to improve and need to have in my armory to win games for my team. So the captain gives me the ball in those situations where you have to defend 8 or 9 runs. And a Yorker is a really valuable delivery, executed well in order to defend that number of runs. You have to spend time on it. And if you don't spend enough time on it, it will be inconsistent and it becomes more risky when you choose to bowl a Yorker if you haven't put the time in. I um, recently I shared, I think it was on LinkedIn, although it might have been on here as well, about standing at the end of your mark, your run up, knowing that you've got the receipts for this particular delivery that you're about to bowl. By that, I mean the receipts of the amount of time, the sessions, the feedback, the tweaking, the tidying up in order to deliver that ball that you're about to bowl. Have you put the time in when nobody else is watching? But you know you have. And so therefore you've put the receipts, you've got the receipts for the work that you've put in to go ahead and bowl that one delivery. If you haven't, then it's a risk. You might nail it, you might execute it really well, but it becomes something that, probability says you might nail it, but probability says you might not because you haven't put the work in. So simplicity is genius. I cannot stress enough the importance, and I've learned this from the best. I've been so fortunate to have worked with so many household names and world-class performers. And the common theme is they put the work in, but it's really simple work. It's not scattergun. And this messaging that I've just been working with, messaging with an online young player, Pathway, County Pathway, very, very talented, um, absorbs everything, which is a positive, but the negative, absorbing everything, it can take your eye off the one thing that you know you need to work on. So I encourage, if I'm working with anybody on an ongoing basis, it's really important to me that I piece together a plan, and we piece together what's the one thing that would have the biggest positive impact on your game in the next 90 days, okay, the next 3 months. And we work towards that. We plan for 3 months. We might work with different drills. We might work with different conditions. We might work with different ways of doing it. But at the core of every drill, every session is always we have one eye on the one thing that we said that we were going to commit to for the next 3 months. And I just think that people are too easily coming away from, I know I need to add this to my game, but actually this is quite good. I've just seen this bowler do this in the World Cup T20. I've just seen this batter play this way in the Under-19 World Cup final. I think I'm going to do that instead. There are no shortcuts. This whole journey of improvement and development is still standing the test of time. You decide what player you want to be, who you need to become in order to improve on that one point. And you'd also honestly look at yourself and understand where you are now and where the gaps are. Do I need to run in quicker? Do I need to improve my alignment? Do I need to improve the timing of my action? The timing of my load up? Do I need to improve the position at my jump so my position at back foot contact will then improve as well? You need to piece together the jigsaw that will enable you to start here. This is where you are now, and end up here. This is the player you need to be in 3 months' time. And you piece where are the gaps, where are the gaps, where are the gaps. But you'd never come away from that one thing that will have the biggest positive impact. I get so many messages saying, how do I improve arm speed? How do I improve wrist position? How do I improve that? I'm sharing so much on social media, and my response is always the same. Well, how much time have you spent so far on improving your wrist position? How much time have you spent understanding what it takes to improve your arm speed and so therefore ball speed? And more often than not, I reckon 90% of the time, the responses I get back from that question is, I've looked at it for the last 2 weeks. It's not long enough. I've put together, based on everything that I have learned, top to bottom, bottom to top, an 8-year pace bowling program where for the first 2 years you lay the foundations, then it's emerging, then it's skill development, and then what you do when you put in the roof on the house. 8 years. And we underestimate the amount of time, we underestimate what we can achieve in the long term, and we completely overestimate what we believe we can achieve in the short term. It's delusional. Players need to work with coaches that take, I believe anyway, it's just my opinion. It's not right nor a wrong opinion, it's just my opinion. Work with coaches that take a slightly longer term view. So at the core of everything, when you're working with coaches, at the core of it, there's the one thing. As soon as we tick that off, we're going to move on to the next, and we start layering skills around technical, tactical, physical, mental, and lifestyle. That's how you build. That's how you put receipts. So every time you stand at the the end of your run up, you've done the work, often when nobody else is looking. Nobody else knows you've done the work, but you know that you put the work in, and that gives you confidence. It's very much a longer term view. And that's where my passion is now, really. So I've titled this Simplicity is Genius because a simple plan is often the best plan. Yes, with pace bowling, there is a lot of detail that can go into that simple plan. Yes, young bowlers need direction and encouragement. They also need high challenge and high support. It needs to be a safe environment where they're okay being uncomfortable, but they are being coached in such a way that they're okay being challenged in a high basis. They're okay failing. I often think that if a drill is set up and it is too easy, it looks too easy for the player, and it is clearly too easy, then it's the wrong drill. I'm always kind of constantly thinking, okay, that seam position looks really good. I keep going on that seam position. That seam position, excuse me, looks really good. If that's what we're looking for, and the bowler nails that seam position, okay, great. Can you now make the small adjustments, whether it's the angle of the seam in the grip, or the pressure in the grip, or where the thumb position is? Is it down the seam? Is it across the seam? Can that bowler, when the ball is traveling through the air, that's got a lovely angle for a waist swing, can that bowler then have the feel to bowl with a seam that is dead bolt upright? Because that is taking things up a notch. That then becomes slightly more challenging in terms of the feel. If a bowler does that constantly, it will get to a point where they're not really thinking about the feel because they trust that the ball is coming off of their fingers with a lovely angle for the seam. Okay, great. Now, let's see if you can do that. It's a different feel. So then you start the process again. And then once they can get that and that, can they then do that? It's a constant kind of evolving program where if somebody becomes really good at something, you then, as a coach and as a player and as a parent, start thinking, right, what's the thing that we can layer on top of that to keep that skill development going? So the message really, again, is a simple plan is often the best one. And people underestimate what they can achieve in a slightly longer term view of things. Just imagine what you can achieve in 3 months if you just have one focus. And it's not boring, the drills that you can do in order to develop one skill, skills that you can cover in 3 months, are so varied, it's ridiculous. So you can keep it interesting. Just imagine what you can achieve in 6 months. Just imagine what you can achieve in a year if you're working with somebody that just keeps your focus more narrow. But in order to enjoy the game, keep the game wide, absorb, ask questions, everything, observe, but always then come right back to, right, what's the next most important thing that I can do in order for me to improve? I'm a big fan at the moment of, and always have been, um, whatever the session is geared up to achieve, deliver the session, and then allocate time for a competitive 12 Yorkers at the end, whether that's bowling at batters or whether it's bowling at targets or whatever. Because what you do then is you're creating time and the opportunity for bowlers to become better Yorker bowlers. And I'm saying Yorkers, you could actually choose any delivery really. Um, Watch John. Okay. Hey Will, how you doing? How you hitting them, mates? How you hitting the golf ball? Watched a YouTube video this week. A young boy saying he was easily distracted. The respondent just asked, "Do you have a plan?" No was his response. We'll get one, and then you have a focus point. Um, you have to know where you're going. You have to have an aiming point. Where am I going? I'm going through a bit of a process at the moment with my own business, and I know there's somebody on here that's helping with that. Where am I going? There's a few things that we're going through where we've agreed a sale on the house. We're not 100% sure yet where we're going to be relocated, and what impact that then, when we end up moving area, what impact then that is going to have on what I can deliver to you and everybody else in terms of helping people develop. Um, but I work my best when I know where I'm going. I have an idea of where I'm going, and obviously life throws things at you that you're not expecting, and you have to kind of evolve and kind of mold yourself with what life throws at you. But always knowing where your aiming point is. Jimmy, nice of you to join us. I hope you're well. And I think that's the case as well. And John, you've just said there, we'll get you one, have a focus point, you're less distracted. Yeah, absolutely. One of the first questions I ask of players that come to me, whether it's online or whether it's in person, is what are you working on? How long have you worked on it? Why is that important? And how have you worked on it? Because I need that context. All right. I need to know where they want to go. And if they don't know, that's fine. We'll work through that process. What are you working on? Why are you working on it? How are you working on it? And who? That's really important to me, because what I don't want to do is confuse them. And actually, the last thing I want to do is start working on something that is not relevant. So it's a conversation, I guess, to find out whether they know where they're going as well. Just started coaching under 15s and it's brilliant. Nice. Where is that, Jimmy? Where is it that you are coaching under 15s? What a great age. Yeah, a great age, because they're starting to work out whether cricket's a thing or not, whether it's something that they just want to enjoy with their mates, or whether it's oh, nice. We're talking about relocating to Devon. How about that as an option? It's not 100% yet, but because I'm from the West Country, I've always looked at Devon as a bit of a um, somewhere that's just really nice to go to. We're looking at South Devon, actually. That's where we were looking at, but we're not quite sure yet. Just need to plug my phone in. Under 15s. Under 15s is right in the middle of this program that I put that I put together. Under 15s, how can we make the biggest impact? Well, it's a lot easier if at 12, 13, 14, they've been working with coaches on laying the foundations of movement. And in simple terms, if they know how to run, jump, land, move, uh, jump, land, absorb, balance, and they have been taught and coached staying upright with a really good seam position, it is so much easier to go more advanced with under 15s. This is where taking a long-term approach becomes invaluable. And Jimmy, I don't know how long you've been following me, but a while ago, I think it was pre-Christmas, I was sharing on weekly live calls this 8-year program, and I actually sent the all of my notes, and it does change, it does tweak all of my notes to my paid subscribers, 10 to 12, 13 to 14, 15 to 16, 17 to 18. And it's like a journey. And there's no guarantee that everyone become professional cricketers. It wasn't geared up for that. But what it is put together to do is whatever bowlers want to achieve, whether that's fun of the game, whether that's just learning how good they could be. This 8-year program is geared up for every level, with every motivation, with every ambition, whether it's just to get out of the house, whether they're curious as to whether they could go into pathway cricket, pro cricket, whatever it might be. This program allows for any of that, but it does start off with, do they move well, run well, technical, tactical, physical, mental, lifestyle, all the real basics, nutrition, hydration, good habits around sleep, recovery, mobility at home, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I've got a lot of lads at the start of their journey, a few lads getting county coaching, but they all love their cricket. Brilliant. I've got some wonderful memories of playing against Devon. Uh, After my own pro cricket career finished, which didn't last very long, by the way, I played for Wiltshire for a number of years, and I always enjoyed playing against Devon. They were always a team back then. They were the team to beat, and I've had some really good ding dongs with the Devon boys, and some of which I'm still in contact with. We played a game at Torquay one year, and I broke my finger taking a catch, getting Nick Folland out. That's how long ago I'm talking about. And the game, there was 2-day matches back then, and the game had to be called off because the umpire that was standing at square leg, all of a sudden the ground started moving, and there was a hole that suddenly started appearing near the square leg umpire. And it was like the ground was like moving. It was weird, you know. I've got to shoot in a minute. I've got to take my boys football. Is there any other questions? Exeter is beautiful. Exmouth. We were looking at Kingsbridge, that sort of area. Dartmouth, Kingsbridge. I'm not ready to retire, by the way, but it's been a fairly fast-paced few years, and I guess what we enjoyed about the feel of those areas, I enjoyed the pace of it. But we'll see. We'll see. Will, talk to me. I've got to shoot. I've got to take my 6 and 3-year-old to Little Kickers. Always a fun time. Good. Always a fun time. I'm really keen on our two boys, to play multi-sports. That's the other thing, Jimmy, I think that's really important. Young kids, and kids our age, I guess. Anyway, multi-sports, I think, is so beneficial for all sorts of reasons, but that we can discuss that on another call. Will, John, yeah, I'm doing all right, thank you. I'm going to shoot. It's a small one, this one. Substack's brilliant because nice. Make sure they play cricket and football. I'm actually a rugby coach. I'm a qualified rugby coach, but I never use it. It's ridiculous, really. 40 years I lived in Bath. That's where my passion for rugby came from. I actually played rugby at school. Kept away from the pack. I was a kicker. Substack's brilliant because it clips it all up. So what I'll do is I will share some of these clips. I think there's some really important messages. But one thing I'm really keen on is getting feedback from everybody here. All right. I'm kind of sharing a load of stuff that I think is important, but I want to make sure I'm sharing stuff that you think is important. So feel free to direct message me. I've got to end the call here now. Feel free to direct message me. Give me some feedback. Barnesy, this is what we need, what I really like more of from you, less of from you. Continue doing that. And I'm really curious about this area. Never fear giving me feedback, because feedback's a gift. All right, listen, thanks for joining me. There was no notice on this one, but I'll share some of the clips to everybody else as well. Have a great weekend, everyone. Catch you soon.